high level here, where did your hockey fandom, come from? Let's start with that.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Texas, so we had the Houston Arrows, which was pretty popular. I went to a couple games with my dad, but I was super young, so I didn't know a lot about hockey. But when I went into the Navy, my first duty station was in Minnesota, which is random as hell, like to consider the Navy in Minnesota. But I met my husband there, and he played hockey through high school, and he loved it. And then, of course, we got married, had kids, and then our boys started playing hockey. And so it's kind of hard not to. I mean, if you don't love hockey in Minnesota, you're going to be quite miserable because it's the topic of everything. And so I fell in love with it. I loved the aggression of it. I loved the fast pacedness of it. I loved watching my boys play. It was just amazing. And so, that's where really my love fell in college hockey in particular with the Gophers, because college hockey is just that passion and there's so much excitement. And I just feel like to me, it's a different vibe. Love professional hockey too, but college hockey is just a different level of that. So it was really something that just kind of grew on me. And, then of course we moved to Boston, and you can't live in Boston and not love hockey as well. So it was just like, it's been immersed since I've been 17 when I moved to Minnesota, and it's 100% my favorite sport. That's for sure.
And I mean, to your point, right? It's just a totally different beast with college hockey in Minnesota, because you get the idiots that come out of the woodwork every year when we post stuff about the state hockey tournament, and they say, oh, Minnesota's the state of hockey. How many Stanley Cups do they have? It's like, you're totally missing the point here.
Oh,
and you really see that come through with now the 6 D1 teams, and you see all of the Minnesota players that not only fill those squads, but all over the country.
They sell out NHL arenas for state of high school hockey tournament. I mean, that's freaking impressive. It's crazy. I try to describe to people, it's like the football of Texas is hockey is like of Minnesota. And I don't know, I feel like it's even more ingrained in the blood in hockey, like in Minnesota. It's just, it's everything in Minnesota. So it's wonderful though.
It definitely blurs the line between culture and cult, but
right. A little bit. Yeah. And it's crazy. Minnesota has their own unique way of hockey. We've lived a lot of places, and even living in Boston, like it's a whole different hockey game over there. I just love the way Minnesota has things laid out, especially at the youth level, high school and such. It's just super cool. And it's not like that other places. There's different rules. There's things that are just a little bit different. They don't do it by city. And I don't know, we always had a really hard time with that when our boys would play, in other states. That really was like, oh, Minnesota just does it right.
You said it there, highlighting that Minnesota just does hockey differently. Like, I come from Canada, where like hockey is our NFL up there. I tell this to like all of our sports fan guests too. Like, you see 90% or 80%, NFL content on your sports center. We see 80% hockey. Like, that's just the flip in Canada. But moving to Minnesota here this year, it's its own unique thing, and it's so special. And I went to my first state high school hockey tournament this year, and it was incredible. And like, I'm a huge World Junior guy, I'm a huge Memorial Cup guy, CHL hockey up in Canada. This is something special, and like it's on par, or I mean, it is more unique than those, because it's a whole different thing, but it has that special magic to it, and like it's almost undescribable. Like, you just have to be there to really like get it.
Yeah, and you kind of become like a hockey snob if like you move away. Well, obviously not for you, for Canada, because you're like the mecca of it. But like living in other places, like especially down here, you're kind of like, it's hard not to be like a snob about it. Like, that's not what we do. But okay, like the celebrating after 9 goals in youth hockey, the other two, you're like, no, it's just not etiquette. Like, I think that etiquette is a big deal that in other states, like they are just like the discipline is not there. So it's just different, but it is hard. You're like, all right, just calm down. We're in Florida. But it definitely is so different.